Yeah, I mean, that's just completely out of left field. There's not even really niche options that necessitate an Enchantress ban, but well, whatever. They pick up the Undying instead. Dreamers immediately respond with the Snapfire, because why wouldn't you? Gives you everything you need, not just against the Undying, but in general against 5Rat's lineup. So the question will be, do they run it as a core? The answer is immediately no, ET. They take the Beastmaster for themselves, and, well, there's no Enchantress to steal his creeps away. I don't think that was going to be a possibility in the first place, but 5Rat made sure of it.
Yeah, Dreamers are ready. They do not want to leave BTS Pro Series, at least not with the way they're drafting. Just smart stuff across the board. And okay, DNM, a little bit of a counter pick here with the sniper, and of course, classic counter versus the Shadow Fiend carry. Miserable matchup that you never really want to be in, and maybe that shifts that Shadow Fiend towards the mid lane, depending on what we see 5-Rat actually look like once all their heroes are selected. But I feel like the second phase was almost entirely dictated by Dreamers. I feel like they got exactly what they wanted, and they forced a lot of heroes out of 5-Rat's hands, and they still get the value ban on the Pango. So
Hmm.
really, I kind of love what Dreamers have done here.
It's looking pretty good, and they still have the flexibility in place with regards to the SF where they want to run it, and they don't have last overall pick. That's kind of the bummer in this scenario, but well, they should have a good idea of guess what they're going up against here. Although ET, there's still the possibility of the Death Prophet being moved around, so they can be relatively sure, but not 100%.
Yeah, there's still that flexibility, and flexibility that 5-Rat may or may not decide to use. Could be a sniper mid for all we know. But I think Red 2 is a little bit more at home when it comes to those spirits and some of the other heroes. And depending on what Dreamers pick up for their last hero, if let's say they see a carry picked up, then that's going to knock out a bunch of the spirits. If they don't see a carry picked up and they know that it's going to be Shadow Fiend moving around, then maybe they can make the Ember work perhaps for Red 2. But we'll see. A lot of question marks. They do find a value band though there onto speed. So again, splitting the bands because there is that flexibility, but making sure they're not missing any mark. And I do think it would have been a great primal game.
Mm-hmm. Definitely seen speed take that hero to the offlane before. So smart ban, take it away. 5-Rat now. Well, do they simply want to ban out another carry option here? They've got some time to think it over at least, so don't have to make an immediate decision. But at this point, ET, if you're in Speed's shoes, if you're the drafter, are you more concerned with the SF at the 2 or the 1?
I'd probably say that they're going to keep it as their carry, and then they look for a jump hero onto the sniper. Right now, 5-Rat only have Avatas. Of course, maybe it's time to throw in there to make things a little bit more difficult, but it's where the Undying doesn't give you any more lockdown. I think Dreamer's getting Jamari. Maybe his Storm Spirit would kind of be the classic here. You get Storm versus Sniper, you get Jamari, one of his best heroes. I feel like that's where we could see them decide to take this game, even though 5-Rat are the exact opposite. They think they still need a carry, and they do pick up Jamari's Spirit, so they keep the Shadow Fiend in. 5-Rat most likely just valuing the Sniper versus Shadow Fiend counter way higher than Dreamers apparently do.
Mm-hmm. They are not as concerned with it. I mean, you still have to show some respect to anything your opponents pick, but they didn't seem panicky at that point, right? We'll give them that. Meanwhile, for 5-Rat, there we go. Had to get that pick in fast. They only had 1 second left, and now that Enchantress ban way back when seems to make a little bit more sense. And yeah, that is a core Chen as well here. They're not switching anything up with the Tiny and the Undying picks, so okay, why not? 5-Rat don't have anything to play for. They're locked into the 2 seed, so they say, let's let Speed try an offlane Chen.
Yeah, and Chen, a hero paired with Death Prophet, you've got that little bit of a heal to play around with. Will certainly enable Red 2 to be a little bit more of a maniac when it comes down to running those lanes. But also, we'll see once we load in what Nick's starting items are, because I could also see it being a 3 Tiny, a 4 Chen, which also
Mm,
still feels kind of weird. But 5-Rat really had me scratching my head here, because Chen is also a hero that really doesn't address the Ember Spirit. So as far as I'm concerned, Jamari, if he's able to survive that lane versus the Death Prophet, has free reign over this game. He's got a wild Ember Spirit game. He's just going to be able to run around, do whatever he wants, pretty much.
Yeah, they really don't have any significant means of keeping him locked in place for more than a couple of seconds, right? Avatos is there, Silence is there, but you're a BKB away from not caring about any of that. So, interesting stuff from 5RAT. And as you said, ET, maybe it's a switch up. Maybe Nick sort of moves position. We did see 5RAT do something similar the last couple of times out. One of the benefits of having a duo in Nick and Speed who both have experience at the 3 at the and the 4, but even if they make that switch, I still don't really like this choice from them as much as what Dreamers have put together.
Yeah, I think Dreamers have I hazard to say, more solid lineup, but we'll see. Maybe there's some execution. Maybe there is technology that we're not appreciating here. They do have 3 heals for the Death Prophet, but is just a DP gonna be enough, or is Dreamers kind of just gonna walk all over you? Definitely looks like Dreamers have the easier lineup to execute this time around. Or maybe it's just gonna be too hard for the Shadow Fiend to exist versus Sniper, and the DP gets too much on with their ultis. I don't know. It really is tough to say. And it is going to be the Chen playing as an actual offlaner. Nick has support items on that Tiny, so let's see what Speed does with farm.
Okay. Fair enough. Gets a Blightstone to start here, so going to be a little bit more obnoxious in terms of his ability to hit in the lane itself, and, well, it'll be entertaining no matter what. And did mention earlier, if you're 5RAT, now is the time to take your risk. You know exactly where you're going in that playoff bracket, so this game, realistically speaking, does not matter to you. So why not roll the dice? Why not see if Speed's Chen is something that can work for you? We just saw a good example of that in the last game, right? Lalashroni busted out the coddle that he was very familiar with behind the scenes, but didn't get too much of a chance to show it here in Pro Series, so a last-second switch-up, a last-second experiment could make your opponent in the playoffs suddenly have to think about extra bans.
And we'll see if it works. Again, a lot lower stakes here for 5RAT, where Dreamers, they've got to win effectively 2 best-of-1s is the way to look at it. If they lose here in game 1, well, then they're going to start crying a little bit as that second game begins. But they're certainly not going to give up without a fight. Just got to see some nice, clean, consistent play. They're really playing the meta here, where 5RAT took things a little bit weird this time.
Well, do want to point out one little thing here for Dreamers, which I was kind of waiting to see once we were in case it was just an alt account. This is Pamplona on the Snapfire, so, ever so slightly different in terms of the lineup, but maybe a lesser-known name, ET, but still experienced in that support position.
Yeah. Just a vet, just knows what he wants to do and how he wants to do it, but maybe not played with Jaquil a little bit here, but it could be worse.
The lane gets underway. I'll look top for really just a moment here, just for the sort of novelty factor of talking about how this lane's out. Between Shen and Tiny, I mean, they can always just go for the tossback play. That's kind of the most obvious initiation, but other than that, what are they really looking for? Is it just going to come down to what kind of creeps that Speed can get, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that seems like kind of the obvious thing. Of course, level 1, he just steals the range creep, is going to mean that him and Nick don't have as much XP because they brought it over to their side, but they've got another thing to last hit with. But then he's just getting a mech. He's, as far as I'm concerned, just playing Chen, which, in the meta, feels pretty good. Offlaner's getting Greaves, that's as typical as it gets, but we'll have to see what his timings look like.
And maybe part of the reason why they decide to bust this out. They're thinking,
it feels good.
All the offlaners are building basically the exact build Chen used to go for anyway, so let's just actually run Chen. But we'll have to see whether it pays off. Do you see the second point up, or excuse me, not second point up in it, but his first point up in Penitence at level 2, and that's where I think things could get kind of interesting. If you get that tossback play, the Penitence for the slow, the bonus attack speed as well is nothing to scoff at, so either of these heroes could get caught so far back that they just don't have the movement to really get themselves out of trouble.
Yeah, and so far, done a very nice job in there.
Sure.
There you go. Very nice trade. A lot of damage onto Adrian. Doesn't go down, though. But 555 also doesn't have Leech Seed. He's passing over Tangos. He's going to living armor up Adrian, but the tree's not making this lane look any easier. It is very difficult for him to exist here.
Yeah, haven't really hit that equilibrium point, that stability with the Treant in lane just yet, but we'll see how it plays out once there's some more levels thrown into the mix. In the meantime, looking over at mid, Red 2 pushed back under his tower. This is effectively a double wave that he is dealing with as Jamari, well, pulls a creep wave of his own here, so some shenanigans going down in that middle lane, but everybody's going to be able to still find their farm. Jamari, though, opting to not get those Searing Chains just yet, and against the Death Prophet, you're not really going to get too many chances, I think, to be aggressive with those chains anyway.
Yeah, it's going to feel a little bit difficult, and, well, with the double wave, do get some deny action there from Red 2, but eventually needs to come and meet some of these creep waves, but very peculiar. Nobody has boots either, so this is just them just dragging creeps around, just trying to avoid the other mid laner as much as possible.
Just playing their own games right now. A little bit of PvE, and they're both last hitting very well. Red 2, though, does push in, and now we see why he wants the Flame Guard over the Searing Chains. You can't entirely sidestep the Siphon damage, but it's going to hurt that little bit less.
Yeah, and, well, gonna see it's a little bit of a battle here for those water runes, but Red 2 also opted not to go for the bottle. Got the Falcon Blade instead. Solid item on the Death Prophet, but it's back up top where finally Nick just gets brought down, hits that level 3 point, gets a point up in Leech Seed, and then walks him down, as well as getting that second point up in Shadow Raise. Just too much nuke damage.
Well, they hit a lot harder than your Tiny was ready for, and speed couldn't really do a whole lot there. 1 point in Penitence is not going to really make the difference on the raises in terms of getting into position, so Nick just caught being a little bit too forward here, and if he had his boots, I don't know, maybe that looks a little different, but without them, not a fun time. And this time, preemptively, just toss him away, go for the avalanche, and just get out of there.
Yeah, gets him back, gets to scout out a bounty rune, and maybe make a rotation here onto Jamari. But instead, tosses his tree, Jamari says ow, and then gonna steal the bounty rune regardless.
Yeah. Not a whole lot going down there, but as you say, bounty rune being picked up, mid laners just go back to their business, and, well, 5.5 minutes in, ET, we are seeing a little bit of an edge going the way of the 5RAT heroes. Taking a look at the chart here, all three of their cores starting to really put up some advantages here in terms of those last hit counts.
Yeah, and Pamplona gets run down. 2 shrapnels, so kind of expensive there from DNM. But he's just last hitting better. He kills underneath a lot of pressure. His borers are getting sniped out quite regularly from the sniper and the Undying just kind of running at him. And he has 3 points up in it, so without the borers, he's pretty worthless. And there's no recovery build either. You can't farm ancient stacks or large chem stacks with just 1 point up in the axes, so he's fairly committed here, even though when he does have the borer, everyone has to be careful how far he's up the lane, but it just hasn't happened.
Just holding steady for now. Akil, I mean, he's not doing poorly, right? He's sitting at 19 and 5. That's still respectable. It's just the sniper's basically going to double you up here in the next minute or two, so everything in Dota is always kind of relative. Your good start is not so good if your opponent's start is fantastic, as Nick is being a very sneaky rock right now. So Red 2 pops the Exo, but that Exo kind of ruins whatever Nick was looking for here. Not really going to be all that sneaky at this stage. Pamplona comes over as well, so they don't have the numbers advantage either, but the Exo does allow them free damage onto the tower, and Jamari, I mean, with the DD rune, he could try to force this, but he still doesn't have a point in the chain, so they have no lockdown. They just got to try and do it by hand, and They're doing a lot of damage. Nick does get taken down. Pamplona is starting to drop, so he'll fall. But the Exo is running out of time. Jamari is starting to get a little low himself, but does he want to stick around? No, he doesn't. He's going to jump away to the Remnant. The Tier 1 tower, though, is still standing, so mission accomplished on that front. There is one slight problem, though, ET, and that problem is that Drakeel was left all alone on the other side of the map, and he gets picked off.
Yeah, gets shot, just can't do very much when he's getting run down underneath his own tower. Chim gets committed and does die, but it still doesn't matter. 2 many successful plays here. And they did get the return kill onto Nick, but mid tower is now going to have to be babysat very closely. Otherwise, Red 2 just nukes in the wave and will just walk up and right-click to death, basically.
5RAT able to jump out to a bit of an edge here early on. 2K in their favor, and looking for Adrian. They get the Ava, they get the toss back. Requiem, though, will be channeled out. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but the Fear does split up the duo, so Nick is going to get targeted. Tries to heal up with the stick charges, and he's not dead yet, but neither is Adrian, and Adrian has the longer range there with the raises, so this duo just hasn't been able to really put it together, ET, and no matter what your build is, I mean, Shen does not have early damage. It just doesn't really happen.
Yeah, and then Drakeel gets a bit of revenge bottom with Pamplona, and
He's got Aurora.
DNM, he wants it so bad, but nighttime just barely out of side that cone of vision and doesn't get brought down because of it.
Very fortunate for DNM there that he's able to just walk away, and he's got the Javelin, so progress being made towards that early Maelstrom, and well, if you're the Undying, yeah, that death's a little unfortunate, but you're right back into the lane. It's a TP there that is scouted by the Hawk, so they know AB1's back, but yeah, the Undying's not sneaky, he's just here to be annoying, and can certainly accomplish that. But up in the top lane, 555, in a little bit of trouble here. He is going to get slowed up, caught by the Avatos. Red 2 just popped his ult again, so they are going after this tower. Can't get the play onto Adrian, but the Tier 1 should be taken down here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, though, knowing that the Undying is locked in that bottom lane, they roar him, they get the easy kill. DNM's still sticking around here. We'll see if he decides to stick it out or if he's already on his way, but they're also trying to make a play on the mid-tier 1 as well. There's only a few more seconds of that exorcism, but it is all hands on deck. Already used the living armor onto the Shadow Fiend, so do not want to lose their mid-tower right now. No overgrowth, though. Needs the tome on the Treant Protector, so when it comes to defending this tower, he's pretty much just going to have to throw his body there at the Death Prophet, but still, there is time for Dreamers to make a rotation. Ember has his TP as well.
Could make it over here. He has to decide pretty quickly, though, at this point. Do you want to TP mid for the defense, or you want to try and track down DNM? And, well, whether he knows it or not, the decision's kind of being made for him. DNM is already TPing out. 0.3 of a second remaining, so there is no play to be made bot. So, Shamari, well, you would like to see him just go mid and try to help his teammates out, but since he doesn't know about the sniper status, he might stick around.
There's a bit of a bait going on as well, because Speed has Hand of God. He's got that initial heal, so if a fight does break out, Red 2, he's got Fairy Fire, he's got a 13 wand, he's got 2 Spirit Siphons, he's got a Chen ready to save him as well. It's where 5RAT are kind of purposefully putting themselves at risk here, because there is that global factor that maybe Dreamers aren't ready for. Maybe they don't have enough damage for it, quite literally.
Of course, speaking of damage or lack thereof, with Red 2 losing this Exo in just another moment or two, does he have the damage to actually kill the Tier 1 tower? 344 health. So if the spirits can't hit it before Exo ends, you've just got to right-click it down, and that could be a little bit risky. He's got a decent bit of right-click damage, especially with the phase boots, so might just be willing to give it a try here, but we'll have to wait for a little while longer to actually find that out, because we are still paused. I don't believe there was any sort of DC or anything like that. I don't even think anyone came in and said what the pause was for, so we continue to sit here and wait, but until our admin comes in and starts talking about pause time, nobody's really going to care too much, but I don't know, ET. Dreamers have a decision to make here. Do you value the defense mid of your tier 1 tower over anything else? Because if all 3 of these heroes stay bot, they could probably get some solid damage onto that tier 1, but that could just turn this whole thing into a trade-off.
No, and it's the issue that we usually bring up with the Beastmaster, where you can't just pick up the Beastmaster and pluck him in another lane. It's not how it works. You abandon the boars, you leave the boys behind, and then what are you? Yeah, you're not very much of a hero at that point. As well as without the roar, he really is not very scary. It's where they might just drop Jakeel off bottom, rest of the lineup ends up coming mid. Unfortunately, Pamplona doesn't have his 6, and it's not even close to the kisses, so really their best defender isn't going to be able to do it, but Jamari does head over, and here we are. Glyph comes through.
Jamari's in, they got the root, but there's that Hand of God. Red 2 healed up a bit, but the tower remains. They were not able to finish it off. And, well, realistically speaking, ET, everything just kind of resets there.
Yeah, everybody kind of just walks away.
Living
Could be
armor.
worse.
Just gonna start healing up that tower again. Of course, if you're Dreamers, there is the pretty sizable advantage of EXO being committed there, right? So it's not just, we didn't lose our tower. We didn't lose our tower, and Red 2 is gonna have to sort of sit back and wait for another minute or so. But what is a little concerning is the fact that DNM did move. He TP'd mid. Again, they weren't able to take the tower, but now he's kind of free of that bottom lane. He's farming up in the jungle, and as of right now, Dreamer's ability to put pressure on him feels very limited.
Oh, look at this. Speed TP's bottom, immediately takes a boar. Going to be kind of an annoying member of this game, but they want this mid tower, and with the cart, and with Nick showing up, they don't want to lose Adrian, but Adrian's pumping it. Again, though, no overgrowth. Pamplona has his Mortimers, but they're going to have to walk away from this situation, especially with the Chen showing up with his mech. Just a little bit too much there. And it looks like he wants to farm a little bit of a stack, and he'll get it. Steals it away from anybody on Dreamers.
Not really sure who had been trying to take it previously, but Speed's going to get most of that gold. Drakeel, though, well, doing Beastmaster things. Kept on pushing that bottom lane, gets himself a tier 1 tower, and is going to help Dreamers get some of that gold back into their hands, but a bit of a tense situation here in their own triangle. They're basically fighting a vision war. 5-5-5, and you really can't afford to lose this section of the map in particular this early on. Adrian basically would like to just live in this zone as the Roar. When we deployed in the south side jungle, Roar into Mortimer Kisses allowed them to get onto AB1, but now Drakeel has to be very careful. He's trying to get himself away. The cookie's certainly going to help, but this is a hasted Tiny, so Nick just keeps going, but the toss hits onto the Dom-Helmed Creep, which they will kill. 100 gold their way, but they were kind of hoping that toss back caught a hero.
Yeah, definitely. Just ends up not panning out, but I guess that's the name of the game for this Chen, is just trying to counter out the Beastmaster, but unfortunately for Speed, anytime that steal does come through, if he has the Helm of the Dominator cooldown off CD, well, you just steal it right back from you, so it's a game of stealing upon stealing upon stealing. It's very funny to watch it all unfold here. Can only imagine that we're going to see the Ag Shard from Speed eventually as well to counteract the Helm of the Overlord. I wonder if Drakeel even looks for it at that point, because that is a creep that is a little bit harder to replace, but we'll see. It is just a great item, though, so maybe he just goes for it regardless. But in the meantime, while that was all going on, carries just farm, both Adrian and DNM making kind of bank across the map.
Yeah, just picking up pieces at this point. Not really any major items just yet. Lance for Adrian. DNM actually did get that Maelstrom done, so okay. Fair enough. We'll count that as a major item here, but wondering what he's going to go for next. He could look in that same direction, right? Lance into Hurricane Pike if he is concerned about Dreamers getting heroes in his face, but Quickbuy's not going to give us any hints just yet. His teammates, though, have smoked up. They're pushing their way across. They just dropped a scan that clipped Adrian, and they're going to go for it. There's going to be your Avalanche into the Siphon. There's the toss. Do they have a silence? They did, but they didn't actually feel the need to use it, and they find the kill anyway.
No, and this is that awkward timing where there's no easy objective to turn this exorcism into anything else. They don't feel strong enough to go into Roche, so that's just gonna be it. But hey, they got what they wanted. They got the kill onto the Shadow Fiends. Tumblr's toy, you know, very fair and balanced item. A little bit of harassment onto Jamari, but support's sticking around in the mid lane and looking for Pamplona again. The toy into the Centaur Stomp into You've Been Kidnapped.
I mean, it's the poor man's Blink Dagger, really. Little Nick just able to make back-to-back plays with it, and some solid picks there. Again, they still can't really get an immediate objective off of this, but trying to establish a little bit of momentum, a little bit of control. Drakeel and 555 come over to deal with the creep wave, so now 5RAT know this Southside jungle is pretty much unguarded.
Yep. They can go in there, they can farm, give Nick the open lane, let him look toward that Blink Dagger a little bit. Something he hasn't really greeted out for either. Brought a full Windlace, brought a full Phase Boots. He's kind of just waiting to be a little bit more effective. And it's worked so far for him, but the Blink timing is not looking to be too great. That's why they give him the solo lane. But Dreamers wanting to make a smoke happen, and they're trying for red 2, but again, Hand of God, 20 stick charges will be enough. The kisses, they're feeling like it's enough, but here they come.
Red 2 is just standing in the kisses, not caring, not dying. Eventually, they'll finish him off, but now the cost is going to be pretty high. The Overgrowth doesn't come out. He dies before he can get it off. This is starting to get a little bit complicated. DNM picks up 2 kills. Jamari, realizing he is pretty much out of mana, decides to fall back. And well, I mean, they get the kill, ET, right? They take down Red 2, but it just takes so long to do it.
Yeah, and if only Speed had a TP, because then the Greaves would have been involved in that fight zone, then I really don't think you lose Red 2, but it's okay. They still get him. They give 3 kills over to DNM. He's super happy. Just gets to go back to farming as well. No pressure on that tier 1 mid and mid. Yeah, he's got a remnant, but he has no time.
Well, the silence from Red 2 is coming into play. Has the second point up in it, so it lasts a little bit longer, and that's a rough one. That's only his first death, even, for the Ember Spirit, but it only takes a couple of, well, or I guess it would be poorly timed deaths from the Ember's perspective to really shatter your own momentum. And speaking of which, 5RAT decide to really just kind of twist the knife here. They find the pick, and then they go into the Roche pit. This will cost them their Exo, but the Aegis, it's going to be incredibly valuable for them.
Yeah, they push in. Now Sniper's got an Aegis to toy around with. Got level 2 Exo right before that went off, so it's extremely quickly. But now it's a matter of how easily do we see 5RAT get onto these tier 2s. It's where Jamari is going to try to make the most of his Ember Spirit. Even though Silent's still very obnoxious, why he's going for the BKB next, but he's also trying to lay out for another creep wave. He knows that if he dies, he doesn't kill the wave, then they're just going to push it down, and he does get forced off it.
He's able to get away, but he's going to run right into Nick. Tries to use the Sleight of Fist dodge, but he still gets caught by the toss. Now, well, the Ava did not get used there. Nick may be thinking a tick wouldn't come in just as the Remnant play was happening, so they decide to let it go, but ET, by letting it go, they're free to push onto the tower again, and this does force out the glyph from them, but the tower should still be falling here. So it's a glyph that's going to be refreshed, but they're losing a lot of map control.
Yeah. Defense that I suppose there's no one really to TP in and then just hold the tower. It probably is just Red 2, but probably doesn't want to give up his life again and spread themselves out so thin. Bottom, though, DNM says, enough's enough. Get off my building. And while he defends bottom, probably after one more wave, they're going to look for that mid tier 2. A tier 2 that Dreamers still don't look like they want to necessarily fight over. They're waiting for their double BKB timing. Adrian only another 900 gold away from his, but still waiting as a nice little pick, though, here onto Nick. They can get it quick enough, but there's that Hand of God, and Drakeel, well, he's been sniped.
At least they still find the kill, but Just takes that little bit of extra time with the Hand of God, so they do end up losing a pretty important hero in exchange. And now, see Speed moving his way into his opponent's jungle. He did get the shard, so steals some Ancients, and oh, I guess they could group up here for a push onto the tier 1 bot. Do have the creep wave following after DNM, and with the Aegis still in his hands for just under 3 minutes, Dreamers may not really want to put up any sort of defense here.
Well, they kind of want to just let it go, but 555 is in position right now. He is healing up the tower as well, but it's a little bit too difficult. He is trying to delay it as much as he can, but they're pushing in, and now EXO might be time for 5RAT to get another tier 2 tower. Now, do they want to use it on that tier 2? I don't know, but 555, well, accidentally just showed for a second there with the lane ward that AB1 placed after the fact. Denies his word, dewards. Unfortunate. Just showed for a second and then got punished.
Yep. That's all it took for 5RAT to just sort of spring that, well, not even really sure we want to call it a trap. They just kind of stumbled their way into a kill, but they find the pick, they get the tower, they're going to poke the high ground here because they've still got Aegis, and the EXO's going to come into play here as well. And if you're Dreamers, it's all hands on deck at this point, but they are a little bit split, trying to find a kill onto Nick there in the river, and ET, they'll get it, but while they do that, their tower does take a lot of damage.
Yeah, but it is BKB timing time. Here we go. Watch the defense. Here's the commitment.
Silence deployed, but that just prompts the BKBs. That's a nice use of the Greaves, though, healing everybody up, and they're going to start to turn. Jamari needs to fall back. Beck coming out from his own teammate will allow him to heal up, but he goes back in with the Remnant, and well, that ended up not being the best of ideas there. Gets burned down and finished off, but they at least push their opponents off of the tower, but they don't find any kills. They don't even take the Aegis out of DNM's hands, so other than the Exorcism literally running out of time, wasn't too much accomplished there.
Yeah, and that wasn't even close. That was a play without Hand of God. Now that they have it, I really don't know how Dreamers expect to play, but they just don't have disables. They tried to chain it up together with the Requiem, but then they just get feared and they start running away. There's just no way for them to hit all at once. Maybe once 555 has his Blink Dagger, we could see that fear into overgrowth, into dealing damage, but just right now, there's not enough time. 5RAT are not giving it to you. They're healing through everything. They're doing exactly what they need to. They're itemizing for this early timing. They don't have any BKBs, but they've got heals. They've got tankiness, and just got a Blink Dagger finished up on Nick. So Dreamers constantly have to be scared of that tossback. They really don't have any tool to stop that or to save somebody. Even Drakeel says, well, he's got Ag Shard on the Chen. Well, he's just going to steal my guy. Turns his build into a Wraith Pact, which is fine. Pretty great versus the Death Prophet and the Sniper, but still, you're not seeing these heroes at full strength from Dreamers.
Just sort of being forced into some of these compromises just because of what their opponents are doing, as there's the blink. Nick is in. Avalanche into toss. Keel, didn't even get the chance to use the Wraith Pact. I'm not sure it would have made enough of a difference anyway, but he's now down. Gone for 35. There's no buyback available for him, so this is going to be another push onto the high ground, and well, Exorcism's coming back up here, so last time 5RATs were kind of sort of pushed away, but I don't think they're taking no for an answer this time.
No, the auras are here. They're going in.
Back.
Oh.
Okay. This time Jamari is able to respond in time, gets himself the BKB activated, but well, now that's BKB down, so Jamari really can't start the fight anymore. He needs someone to initiate for him, but ET, realistically, who could that be? There's a blink on Trien. Maybe that's the play, blink overgrowth in, but you would need perfect timing for that.
Yeah, it feels like more likely. This Raxer's going to take it down, but look at it. Here it is.
They're able to jump in. The Mortimer Kisses are coming through as well. AB1 killed by the point blank Requiem, but they're looking for core heroes, looking for DNM specifically. But there's Nick blinking in, getting off the Avatos, disrupting the fight. Hand of God comes through, but it doesn't do Speed himself a whole lot of good. They will lose the Chen. But DNM is okay. Red 2's starting to fall back here as well. Or maybe not. They're going to push their way forward. They get off the toss into the avalanche, into the silence. There's a lot of damage onto the SF. Can he survive, though? For now, yes, he can. D&M's the one to fall. Red 2 dead as well. And Nick was just trying to do a little bit too much there, and now he is going to be punished as well. Double kill for Adrian. Full 5 dead over the course of the entire fight, ET. And Dreamers, I mean, they use every single spell that they have, but they don't really lose anyone there, and that is a massive swing of gold and momentum.
Yeah, and they don't even get racks. That was just an overextension. 5RAT stick their head too long into the lion's den, and then they get burned. And of course, on paper, you say, well, Adrian doesn't have BKB, Jamar doesn't have BKB. How could they possibly fight us? And what really simply was just good cookie connections. Pamplona carried that fight. Every single land just made a new opportunity happen. And then once the Chen is gone, your Guardian Greaves aura dissipates, he's already blown his load, and his creeps are all dead because the Shadow Fiend just cleaved through him. Well, it's over. And okay, sure, you still have Sniper versus Shadow Fiend, but you've just given so much time over to Dreamers, and now it might be time to look at those big items where you need BKBs, you need Force Staffs, you need to go back for some of that defensive capability, and your timing, or at least your first real good timing, is crushed. And Dreamers are looking at huge items now. Adrian pretty much has a complete dataless after that fight.
Okay. Nick tries to go looking for Jamari, but not going to be able to catch him out. And yeah, that is a full dataless now finished off by Adrian, so Shadow Fiend is going to hit pretty hard here. For Jamari, okay. Aghanim Scepter play from him is not quite done, but getting pretty damn close, so they're feeling good. They haven't quite, I'd say, taken the definitive lead here, but got 5RAT sort of, well, on the back foot for at least a moment. But Roshan is 40 seconds away. Could see both teams just kind of hunker down and wait for that next respawn, and then maybe we just shift our entire focus in this game to the pit.
Well, and Drakeel just finished up a Blink Dagger as well. 555 has a shard. Dreamers are going to be able to hold this high ground so much better in that next bout. 5RAT need this Aegis, as well as I can only imagine Dreamers are going to look to maybe take that fight over at the pit. A fight not on their high ground will heavily favor 5RAT. They just have the extra vision with the shrapnels, with the high ground vision they've already placed. That's going to be way more difficult for Dreamers to make happen, but I don't know if they can really allow the sniper to get another Aegis in his hands.
Meantime, you see Pamplona just trying to keep the wave pushed out bot. The tier 3 tower is slowly but surely getting chipped away at, but here comes the Roche play. Respawning, Aegis available, shard along with it. Dreamers are going to smoke. They're making their way over, but ET, I don't think they're getting here in time. Roche is already going down. D&M takes the Aegis. Takes the shard as well.
Perfect ward.
Who wants to make the first move here? Dreamers. I mean, I feel like they would love to push in ET, but you got to make sure D&M is either the first guy you hit or he's not in the fight. And right now, he isn't actually here. He's all the way over in the west side jungle farming the triangle, so there could be an opening, but Dreamers really have to go within the next couple of seconds, and 5RAT won't push far enough forward for them to feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, both sides very wisely decide to kind of back off for the immediate moment. Pamplona, well, found the smoke, is going to try and make him work for it, drag him near the high ground, and is slowing him up, and they get scared. They don't want to chase anymore. They know if they give a few more picks over to Dreamers, they're just going to start to get out farmed, so they give that respect.
Backing away. Meanwhile, Jamari just trying to clear out the Chen army as best as he can with a couple slights, but, well, I think he got one or two of them there, but didn't clear the whole army away, and I guess now if you're 5RAT, ET, what is their strategy? They've got the Aegis, but as we just saw, they do still seem hesitant to just kind of march their way straight down a lane, so how best to approach this in terms of trying to get back up to your opponent's defenses?
I think, honestly, bottom is probably their easy best bet. They want to play onto Jamari, get the Ember Spirit to pop his BKB, and then instigate a push. Sadly, though, I don't think this is going to be enough. And yeah, he's going to get out, doesn't have to pop the BKB, and then he gets away with it again. But they need to have vision like they do have bottom. Wards looking for the rats, escaping out of the base. If they get a BKB pop on either Adrian or Jamari, that's their big moment to just immediately push in. But until that happens, we're kind of stuck waiting. As well as I think DNM, after the Satanic, needs to get some damage. Because right now, he hits fast, he's real annoying, but the damage is mostly coming in from the headshots, really, more so than a Daedalus or an MKB or anything other. Just feels like he still is not the biggest factor in some of these team fights as well.
And that does become more of a factor when you look at the other side and see just straight damage being built, or had been built by Adrian, so comparison is a little bit iffy, but 5RAT just got to try and make the most of it. They got themselves a Lotus Orb up on Red 2, so he's going to be a lot harder to bring down, which, honestly, it was already kind of hard to get onto the DP with the durability, with Speed having both the Greaves and the Hand of God, so not unkillable, no such thing, but Red 2 is the guy who's just going to stand in front 99% of the time. Here is the 1%, though. DNM with Aegis is still going to be a little bit further forward.
Yep, chipping away at the tower. Ember Spirit just now getting back into the base. Jamari unable to finish off any other items, but is still very obnoxious. And, well, they're pinging out the positioning. They're looking especially here for Nick. No Boar up on the high ground, but both teams set up in the trees, and here's the push in.
Start with the XO, making their way forward. The Roar, though, is going to catch Red 2, but there's the 4-step, there's the heal, there's the Hand of God. They throw down a Tombstone on the backline as well. Red 2, though, he's still dropping, and he's still dead. Adrian just didn't give a damn. Pushes in for the damage. He'll take down Little Nick as well. He'll clean up, well, the Wraith Pact, and this is not going well for 5RAT. They're in some serious trouble. DNM's just going to have to try and hold, but his first life should be, oh no, not taken away. The Concussive Grenade actually pushes him onto the high ground, so he is going to survive for now. But his teammates aren't really that as fortunate. Jamari just goes hunting for AB1. They got the root. They're going to push their way forward. The Cookie Stun is in.
Oh,
Nick tries to
no.
make a move, but it's too late. Adrian's just going to start healing up with a lifesteal. And DNM's entirely alone for a second life. Tries to create the separation with the grenade again into the Hurricane Pike, but Jamari jumps his way forward, but Jamari... oh boy, no HP there, and DNM is really starting to hurt, but eventually Adrian puts an end to that reign of terror, and they win the fight by the skin of their teeth, ET, but they win it.
No, and they win it through one buyback on the Tiny, one buyback from the Treant Protector, just unable to help enough. And again, without those BKBs, despite it all, despite the armor, the Lotus Orb, the Shiva's Guard, the Blast Rig on the Death Prophet, he just gets chunked down by the Shadow Fiend. It's just too much damage. And then you don't have any Returnal. You don't have anybody else to go in. After Nick misses his chance on initiation and the BKBs come through, it's just too little, too late. Dreamers get exactly what they want, and they continue a game that I don't think 5RAT want to be in anymore. This is where your Chen starts to just be a creep, starts to have a little militia that he sits in the trees in one lane and pushes it out every once in a while, but that's the beginning and the end of Speed's contribution. It's where you're starting to get outclassed by Dreamers, just straight up better heroes. And Adrian almost has a full Scotty. He's about to turn this matchup on his head. If he ever finds the sniper, well, you've got a Satanic, that's great, but Adrian's going to beat you in that man fight.
Yep. And then we saw the sniper making use of things like the Concussive Grenade and the Hurricane Pike to move. Those are going to be the only ways that he'll be able to move, because the Scotty is just going to kind of lock him down. So less movement, less lifesteal. Perfect pickup here for Adrian, and as you said, he is very close to it. And by the time another fight breaks out, he'll have it. He pretty much has enough for it this very moment.
And 5RAT, the confidence, it's just kind of cracked. Looking across their items, what they're building up, the BKB on DNM is going to be a necessity, but everybody else is still going in their own direction. Still not that many 4-staffs. Nick trying, he has his own now, but rest of the lineup still looking for what's going to be their answer. Red 2, not sure what he's going to get. He had a Blink Dagger queued up. He probably just wants a BKB as well, but this next timing needs to hit, and it needs to hit hard. Otherwise, Dreamers are going to do this. They get on the aggressive. Adrian finished off his item. Just got the Sanjin Kaya on Jamari. They're just looking for a nice free play. And they'd love to pick off a core right now.
On their way across the map. Somebody, there we go. Nope. There we go. Somebody takes the haste rune eventually, as Adrian will pick it up, and they're going to march their way forward. 5RAT, who steps out of line? Who gets spotted? AB1 looks like he's going to be the primary target, or at least the first one, and they're just quickly going to burn through him. Tombstone on the high ground is doing a little bit of work, though. 555 will be taken down, but once they get the vision, the Tombstone gets cleaned up. AB1, though, will be quick to buy back, rejoining his teammates as best as he can on this front line. But ET, where is the front line? I mean, at this point, Dreamers, they're just going to walk away.
Nope, they're escaping. They got the buyback out of the Undying. That's it. They got a BKB from Jamari. Shadow Fiend didn't need to commit anything. They just kind of disengage. Not even a kisses. No kisses were thrown. Nothing. And the EXO was already used. So just a little bit of an overreaction from 5RAT. They thought that Dreamers would push into the fight when, in actuality, they just said, bye, see ya, we're out.
Take a 1-for-1 trade, we'll take one of your buybacks, and then we just disappear into the night. But, well, they could be coming back here pretty quickly. They're still kind of grouped up. Jamari is looking to see if anyone comes to challenge him mid, but realistically, yeah, it's up top where the fight could break out as 555 just kind of wanders his way in. Adrian, though, goes to work. Machine gun Shadow Fiend immediately takes out AB1, but it's another trade on the supports. The same two supports, as a matter of fact. But, well, if you're 555, okay, fine, you died. If you're AB1, you're on a longer cooldown, a longer respawn. You basically blew the gold that you spent to buy back before. He's in a much worse position.
Yeah, and, well, okay. With the pause, we get to think about our mistakes right now. But I do not think Dreamers are going to push into the pit right now, even though there is the difference of them having their tree up in 20 seconds and the Undying being dead for 30. Going into the low ground versus Sniper sounds a little bit suicidal. I think that's a little bit too difficult to kind of spin that positively. Could give them that ideal fight, even though there's no EXO either for another 40 seconds, but don't think Dreamers want to put themselves at risk just yet. They've already gotten out of kind of a sketchy situation before. They do not want to hemorrhage their lead with a few kind of last-minute choices, even though camping the ward right now, Nick's in a great spot, but the Hawk saw him as well with the dive bomb, and that's just so quick. 1083 crit from Adrian.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to last too long there against the Shadow Fiend. Just, that's all it takes, right? I mean, dive bomb is nice, but it's not the longest lasting spell in the world, but who cares? Once Adrian's in, everybody else has to either fight or run, and Nick didn't really get a choice there. The tower now falls as well. Tier 2 taken. A couple of items dropping here, too, as Jamari cleans up the camp, and Roche is going to respawn. Aegis Cheese and a Refresher Shard all available, and they're going to get this before there's even a shot of 5RAT thinking about movement.
Yep, and this is your Refresher Shard. Probably going to give it over to Jamari so he can just ball out of control. It's something to be shared, though, and we'll see where it ends up settling. But what a great position to be in if you're Dreamers. And okay, 5RAT pick up a Hex on Red 2. A little bit of just simple point target lockdown for them to actually perhaps kill one of the elusive heroes that has just split them this entire game. But what a bad position to be in now. Good news is that 5RAT really are in a great spot to defend their high ground if Dreamers do come knocking out the door. But if 5RAT decide to leave the base, if they put themselves outside, especially if they try to defend this mid-tier 2, that's where Dreamers could just roll them. They have to be very careful. There's Beastmaster plus Presence Aura affecting your buildings. Could be a real quick push coming in from Dreamers that might even just end the game, depending on buyback status. You know, look bottom. Oh no! Okay, 2 got out, but the boys trying to save him, but loses a few in the callback.
Able to sort of mitigate some of those losses, so can get himself out into this west side jungle, maybe look to get some of those creeps back, but bottom lane is where things are going to get a little bit dicey. Adrian is leading a charge, and I He's got the Aegis. There's not a whole lot for him to be afraid of. He's just going to look for that tier 3 tower. In the meantime, look at 555.
Oh, look at the
All the way
sniper.
back. We've got the vision both from the hero and the ward. This would be huge if they could pick him off. Drakeel, he's got his blink dagger, but this is going to be a hard one. If Drakeel just goes sprinting up the ramp to try and blink in, then that kind of gives the game away.
Yeah, and they're being patient. Adrian is pushing in now, but not giving away their position. But here's the toss back.
Okay. They're in. They're able to take down the first life, but so is Jamari. Look at all the damage he's doing. That's going to force out the Hand of God, but it's still not enough. Nick gets taken down, and DNM needs a little bit of backup. Activated his BKB, but he is getting pushed back towards his own fountain. But that does mean he's not getting any damage onto Adrian. Adrian did lose his magic immunity, however, so time to start falling back. Looks like Dreamers are going to be able to pull pretty much everyone out of there, so Aegis gets taken, but they do find themselves a kill or two. They get damage onto those objectives. They actually got the more important. They got the melee racks there too, so maybe it wasn't the cleanest, but everybody gets away, and you were at least able to finally break through in some capacity.
Yeah. You get the space, you get to move across, and it just seems to work. I think they're very satisfied with how that push actually went. And you get to keep the goodies. Didn't use Refresher, didn't use the cheese. You could pass that over to whoever wants. And that could have gotten scary for a second there. But you also survived through another exorcism. If Dreamers wanted a round 2, they'd probably smoke and look for it in the next 25 seconds or so after their BKBs are coming back up. But 5RAT decided it's actually their time. They do have a really great play. The toss into Hex is fearsome. That will stop any of these players from getting their BKBs off. It's how they got the initial kill onto Adrian. But they're going in deeper, and by going in too deep, they are going to miss out. They're looking for the Beastmaster, but a Beastmaster who isn't bottom.
Bit unfortunate for them. They're at least going to be able to clean up a couple of creep waves here, so they'll get some gold. They'll alleviate the pressure on their tower. The Dreamers are well, not even really respawning. Nobody died. They're just regrouping. They're going to look for this. They've still got cheese and a refresher shard on Jamari, so I mean, upwards of, 10 remnants to play around with here, and there's going to be one of them. He jumps his way in, going to get the root down onto AB1, the roar now deployed onto Red 2 as well. Mortimer Kisses flying through, and that's going to force out all the healing that Speed has. Not enough to save AB1, but the cores do successfully fall back. Nick, though, would like to go in, but he's a little off on the timing, only a second early before the BKB wore off. They're still looking to get something here. Assassinate is not enough damage. So 555 walks away. AB1 is the only casualty there, but again, Dreamers really are not being punished for these moves. Sure, they're not getting maybe the full-on teamfight that they want, but it's not like Adrian or Jamari were in any danger there either.
No, and Adrian didn't even commit. He has BKB still. He is down for this, and okay, Tossback doesn't get the BKB off.
And they save him. No, they can't. Adrian's dead, and Dreamers, that was a very strange series of events. They were hanging out around the same area like they anticipated that 5RAT were going to do exactly what they did, but when 5RAT actually do it, they really weren't as ready as they thought.
Yeah, Tossback Hex. It's scary. It's quick. I mean, it defined a TI, except it wasn't Tossback. It was, Horn Toss and Skewer, but it's the same idea where you just get interrupted and you cannot get your ability off, and he got greedy there. He had time to BKB, but didn't want to commit it too early, and then there just wasn't any save from his teammates after that first bout. It was a great smoke from 5RAT, and here we are at the gates of Dreamer's base. He could be up on DNM. He's ready to push in. And how do you approach this fight now?
Oh, they're going to start off with the roar, getting in onto the sniper. Jamari pushing his way forward as well, and DNM's taken down already. AB1 in some trouble, rooted up, finished off. They're going to clean the tombstone, but they want more kills. Jamari's going to push his way in. There's the root onto the Chen, locking him down with the Searing Chains, pushing forward with yet another remnant. Speed's TP, a little ambitious there. Really no way he was making that safely, and Red 2 was really not involved, not in the area. They just kind of thought, let's poke the high ground. We've got Sniper, but a Sniper who didn't have an Aegis, didn't get a chance to pop BKB or Satanic, so was just talking about, you know, Adrian kind of falling into the same trap of having the opening but just not being ready, and then 5RAT kind of make the exact same mistake.
Yeah, and I guess that's how they do it. Just have your opponents get baited in by the Shadow Fiend not being alive, and well, that is a buyback that Dreamers are so satisfied. They don't even touch the high ground. They say, okay, yeah, cool. Win objective has been discovered. Kill DNM. Win the game is now what Dreamers are going to look for, and they're just going to try to claw you out of your base, get you in the safest position they can possibly ask for, and probably wait for this 4th Roach, honestly. But they are fine now to farm. They will try to press the issue before that comes back off cooldown, but they're going to wait until Dreamers have all of their buybacks. They're absolutely ready for this fight. And then, if they have extra buybacks, all you got to do is dogpile on the sniper. If you kill him, it's over.
As you said, the clear-cut win condition presents itself, but Dreamers still have to do it. They've still got to be able to get in there and force the fight, and if 5RAT want, they could make that very difficult, but well, next time if they want to take the fight, ET, they've got to do it with the full force of their lineup. They can't afford to be split again, but at least they're still finding some items. DNM just got his Daedalus finished off, so he is going to actually start genuinely hurting people. Before, it's been a lot of sort of utility and tools to keep himself alive, but with a straight Daedalus, he might actually just be able to burn people down.
Yeah. It's a little bit troublesome, especially because Adrian can still kind of affect his build at this point. He had the butterfly queued up for a bit, but now he's changing back for the arcane blink, so that way he can just start his own fights, and if you don't react fast enough, you will just straight up get killed by him, but also hit just at 25. But look at this. Jamari being a little bit of a pain here, trying to force anything out of his opponents with the birds, giving him the vision, but Dreamers are also poking your base, saying, 5RAT, hey, get back in the base. I'm Adrian, I'm going to hit your building, and it's pretty much, what, 2/3 of the tier 3's HP. And look at that Roche timer. 20 seconds added on top of it with Dreamers all around the pit already. As soon as it spawns, it's going to be a blitzkrieg for 5RAT to try and get over there. They need to sprint to the pit as soon as they think it could have spawned. Otherwise, they're going to miss out.
Well, not making any drastic sudden movements just yet. Trying to clear out the creeps first. Adrian... Yeah, okay, somebody's got to come over and help him. He is strong, but not quite sure they're comfortable with him soloing it, but here comes the rest of the lineup, and yeah, it's already too late. 5RAT won't get here in time, so you got Aegis, you got Cheese, you got a Refresher Shard, you have a full Ag Synth, which Adrian will take. Necromastery upgrade, Requiem upgrade, looking pretty solid there. He did, basically abandon the concept of boots with the Aegis in hand, although considering the blink is what he moved into his inventory, he was already kind of planning on not having boots anyway.
Yeah, and now see how Dreamers are able to collapse Octarine Core and Drakeel as well, so that added cast range, and here's the toss back, trying for it again.
Okay. They got the toss back, they've got the Hex. Little Nick does dive for it, but he'll buy back immediately. His teammates were able to get through the first life of the Shadow Fiend, but it is going to come at a cost. They're going to lose speed. They're going to lose AB1. The ladder will buy back, but will it be enough? Adrian does get the BKB off this time. And now Jamari, waiting for his moment. When does he want to jump in? They would love to bait Red 2 all the way forward, but they're also really just retreating here. Keel TP's away. Adrian's going to try to make it home too, so Jamari does not get his moment to strike ET, but that was the last of the buybacks that were currently available for 5RAT, and you're still sitting on 2 unused cheeses.
Yeah. And, well, for 5RAT, you do kill the Aegis. You get rid of that safety buffer, and you force Dreamers to be a little bit more decisive. You kill the supports, now you've got more heroes that you can put on dieback. Either Nick or AB1 go down. It's huge for Dreamers to actually push into the base, but you do have to also say to yourselves, okay, who's going in with our Shadow Fiend? We need Drakeel and Adrian to both land on the same target. Otherwise, well, while Adrian is getting killed, sure, Drakeel's getting something done, but Adrian's getting killed. Our Shadow Fiend is not able to go in just yet. And maybe this Arcane Blink is going to change things, but if Dreamers have one good initiation, one where Adrian is actually able to DPS with his short 6-second BKB, that could just be the game.
Well, Dreamers know that they're close here, but you don't want to sort of trip and fall this close to the finish line, so they're going to play it safe. They're going to play it carefully because, well, you mentioned way back at the start of this game, you really do have to treat this like two singular best of ones, so can't afford to drop this game, can't afford to make mistakes. And does that mean that we're going to be potentially bored for the next few minutes? Yeah, absolutely, but understandable that Dreamers don't want to, well, mess this up. But they're pushing in the lanes, Mari handling top, Drakil's handling bot, mid is unhandled at the moment, but you see Pamplona coming in, a little bit of wave clear, so we really do want to just keep all of 5RAT just forced back into their own base. But if that is what happens here, if 5RAT just sit in their base and wait, then where's Dreamer's opening to really go in?
Yeah, it doesn't really exist, but the game is not getting progressed for 5RAT to really win either, is kind of your silver lining. Dreamers are taking all of the map, they're farming absolutely everywhere, to such an extent that 5RAT could look to perhaps smoke out once they feel a little bit safer, but they are quite literally going to sit on their high ground for the next minute and 30 seconds. Why? So DNM has buyback. Simple as that. They lose their throw condition, where they lose a hero for free, and then the game just straight up ends, but well, I'll eat my words. They decide to leave the base. They're trying to find 555 and Drakil, and, well, they both bash it out. Time to run, but, Nick, this is your dieback.
Yeah, he is in some serious trouble. They'll take him down right away, and he is not getting back in. And that's, I was going to say your primary initiation, ET. It's worse than that. That's your only initiation. There's no one else in the remaining heroes who can actually make any significant play here, so not a fun time for them. And now if you're Dreamers, well, choose your moment here. They're going to try to push their way in, presumably through mid. They get the root onto red 2. He's able to pop the Lotus, but look at the backline. They just go straight for the sniper. And there was nothing that could be done. That's it. Red 2 goes down. He's got a buyback ET, but for what, really? He could pop the Exo, but it's not going to be enough to save the day.
No, it's too much damage. And now that they realize that they can just hit the tier 4s, okay, trying to kite him in. Okay, red 2 versus the world.
Pop the Exo, got a Hex off, but it's just not going to work. Slowly getting run back. That did buy enough time for the buyback from DNM, but this is just basically stubbornness from 5RAT. They don't want to call it, but their tier 4s are under attack, and Dreamers actually do pull it back for just a moment to make sure that they get the Mega Creep. So, as I mentioned earlier, you do need both of these games, so be thorough, stay disciplined to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. But that does mean 5RAT technically aren't dead just yet. They've got 3 heroes up, but Dreamers look like they realistically could just go right back in. Maybe you gotta wait
watch
for
the initiation.
Maybe another remnant or 2 on the Ember before Jamari goes jump in. So, they don't want to jump the gun here, but there's going to be the initial play. There's the roar. He's on the steps of his own fountain, though, so yeah, that's maybe trying to do a little bit too much. But while all that went down, Adrian takes the tier 4 towers. The Ancient has been exposed. The Searing Chains is going to hit onto red 2. But now 5RAT have more heroes up, but will it be enough? Little Nick tries to go in, gets the Avalanche, gets the toss. Jamari, though, had time to pop the BKB, and now here comes another fight. Drakil pushes in. Roar deployed. DNM has been caught. The Hex, though, is going to prevent Adrian from getting off his Requiem, so DNM was able to fall back into his fountain, but his teammates really are struggling to hold the line inside of their own base. They get 555, but red 2 had to basically suicide for that, and he's going to get taken down. Dead for 2 minutes. But 5RAT, you got to give them credit, ET. They're not giving up, but now it's pretty much over. That's DNM going down. Speed will fall as well. They're going to hunt AB1 inside the fountain, but they don't kill him off before the Ancient dies. That is Dreamers taking the opening match, so their hopes of reaching the playoffs are still alive.
And now we're in our best of one here. They got through step one. Now they just need to make sure they don't stumble there. But 5RAT tried the timing push. They tried the offlane Chen. They tried to make it work. And really hard-fought defenses from Dreamers. The 2 times that they push 5RAT away, it's barely, but it just works. They get enough time, they get enough farm, they get to that scary point of the game where suddenly 5RAT don't want to do anything, and then what all comes crumbling down is 5RAT make one play before they have any of their buybacks back up, where they're just a little bit too aggressive, and they just get caught. And of course, getting caught underneath their tier 4 is, what can you do? That's about as safe as you can hope to be, but it's just unfortunate. And I think really, if 5RAT were able to keep their noses down and keep their play clean a little bit more in that early game, maybe that timing push works out. Maybe they get that early victory as opposed to playing into what was just Dreamers kind of pushing them off, taking some crazy team fights, and through those crazy team fights, they get to stay in our tournament.
And now it all comes down to one last game here for Dreamers, because the first win only keeps them alive. Now they need a second to actually punch their ticket to the playoffs. So we shall see if they can put together a performance like this one. Obviously, they were taking advantage of a little bit of a weird draft from their opponents, but this is still the kind of showing, ET, that really would have a team feeling confident in themselves heading into a do-or-die Game 2.
Definitely, for sure. And we'll see, because I think Dreamers definitely drafted a more typical lineup where 5RAT kind of threw everything against the wall and kind of saw what stick. And they had facts that were going to work for them with this lineup. They got Sniper versus Shadow Fiend. They got a matchup that on paper will always win for you. They just didn't have an offlaner. So we'll see. Maybe this was 5RAT throwing Dreamers a bone, but this next game for Dreamers means everything.
So we are going to be stepping away for just a moment, but when we come back, the final game of the group stage, Dreamers needing a win to get themselves over the hump. 5RAT not really caring, right? Their spot's already locked down, so we'll see if they go for another experimental draft or if they play it more conventionally, but one way or another, we're going to be finding out in just a couple of minutes. So stick around, we'll be right back.